All right. We would like to welcome everyone now to our webinar today through the Chamber of Commerce, Ogden-Weber Chamber of Commerce, and we're so glad that you could make it with us today. This particular conference is done on Zoom, obviously, and it's on best practices for your remote workforce. And we're so happy to have with us Shawn Powers from Answer Financial. And Answer Financial's been a member of the Chamber now for going on 3 years. And it's just been a great partnership working with you, Shawn. And it's been an interesting, when we first started with Answer Financial, you actually had a workforce here in Ogden.
That's true.
And now the workforce is all around the country, and but you have stayed steady here in North Ogden, and the
That's
entire, probably not the entire Answer Financial workforce is in your home, but at least we have the sales director right in North Ogden.
That's
We're probably
correct.
neighbors with Bailey, our marketing director.
Oh, all right. Hi, Bailey.
So I would just like to call your attention to the chat function and just let everyone know about a couple of upcoming events that we have. So if you open up your chat, you'll be able to see those events. Obviously the one today, and then we have the New Biz Symposium on adapting sales and business development cycles to the changing environment. We have a couple of Weber State University professors who are going to be with us for that. It's going to be a fantastic mini master class, if you will, on sales and business development. Should be a lot of fun. So if you put that on your schedule, watch for that. I will say, though, that the partner event that we have listed on there for Top Gun is not going to happen, because I heard late last night, that Top Gun is being delayed until December. So they are not going to release that until December. So we might be changing what that partner event is. But and then we also have our golf classic coming up for the Chamber of Commerce on Wednesday, August 19th. We're going to make plans for that, regardless of the environment that we're working in, to hold that event. And we do have golfing that's going on out there. It's just in a little bit different format. So we're going to make sure that happens. So with that, I'd like to turn the time over just for a moment to Tiffany, who is our executive assistant here at the Chamber. She's going to go over a little bit of the protocol and what's going to happen here.
Great. So the first thing, we want everyone to remain muted during the presentation, so we don't hear any background conversations, background noise, that sort of thing. You can see if you're muted or unmuted by the little microphone in the bottom left-hand side. You'll have a cross across it if you're muted. You can also show your video or not show your video. You can, that's right next to the microphone button. So you can show us your pretty face, or you can block it and we just see your name. You'll definitely want to click on chat at the bottom of your screen. That will open up the chat screen that Chuck was talking about. That's where we'd like people to ask their questions, make comments, share resources, whatever. And then I will let Shawn know when there's questions being asked during that time. If you want to raise your hand, you click on the participants button at the bottom of your screen, and you'll see something that says raise hand. You can raise your hand if you want to actually speak to Shawn or one of us, and I can let Shawn know that we have a raised hand as well. So raise your hand, use the chat to make the comments, and stay muted.
Thanks, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
So let me introduce Shawn to you, and then we're going to turn the time over to you, Shawn. We're just so happy that you could be with us. Shawn's been in the insurance industry for 24 years, a seasoned pro in the insurance industry, and a large part of that career has been with Answer Financial. And he started in 2005 in Encino, California, moved to Knoxville about a year later. And while in Knoxville, Shawn moved from sales manager to sales coach and eventually to sales director. In 2014, he was offered a position as sales director and site manager here in Ogden, Utah. That was out at the BDO. And by September of 2019, 100% of the Ogden Center personnel transitioned to remote work status. And even all the way through that, Shawn, because of his love for the Ogden area, stayed right here, and now has remained as a resident here in the North Ogden area with his wife and 3 children. And currently, Shawn works from home, supervising remote teams of insurance professionals from all around the country. And I believe you said it was around 250, if I remember right, Shawn.
That's correct. That's correct.
Fantastic. Shawn, go ahead and take it away.
Sure. Well, thank you. Welcome, everybody. Happy to be here. Happy to be talking about working remotely. It's actually something I'm passionate about. I think it's a great opportunity for people. And I do think that in a lot of ways for a lot of industries, even without the current situation with COVID-19, I think that it was a way that a lot of industries were headed. So happy to talk to you about it and share some best practices. I hope that you know, you're able to take some of it and apply it, and it helps. Anyways, I absolutely encourage participation. So I think Tiffany was talking about the chat function. Please utilize it. Raise your hand if you have a question, or type it into the chat. I'd certainly like to answer those. Additionally, if you have a comment, something that you do that you feel works well, please put it in there. We'll bring it up. I think there's a couple different emojis that are out there. I'm not as familiar with Zoom, but feel free to utilize them, whether it's a thumbs up if you agree with something. I'd definitely like to encourage interaction. So as Chuck said, we have been working remotely for a little while. And you know, at the moment, our whole company works remotely. Give you a little bit of background on our company. So we are an Allstate company. We're a subsidiary of Allstate, and we sell insurance. We sell insurance in all 50 states. We're open 7 days a week. We have about 250 agents and somewhere a little bit north of 500 employees. And yes, they work all over the country. Some of the topics I'll go over today, just kind of give you a bit of a background on what our remote, where our remote employees program has been, and you know, where it is now and how it transitioned. Take a look at, well, what are the things that we're trying to solve? What are some of the problems that we want to handle? Perhaps there's some things that the employee can do, some simple things the employee might be able to do to tackle some of those themselves. And then how, as a company, through engagement and culture, can we try and solve some of those problems? So just a bit of a background on our remote worker program. So we've actually had a remote worker program for quite a while. It started in about 2009. At that point, it mostly was insurance agents that we had working from home. They had to qualify to work remotely. So there were statistics which they needed to hit. And if they were able to hit those statistics, we would offer them the ability to work from home. Additionally, if they wanted to continue to work from home, they needed to maintain those particular metrics. So because of that, we had a requirement that they be within a certain radius of one of our centers to be able to work from home. They didn't hit these metrics, well, we would pull them back in. And we felt at that time that that type of a structure basically made sure that production would continue at a high level. Well, around about 18 months ago, we started to make a change and started to reconsider those parameters for our work at home program. Here are some of the reasons and some of the things that we why we made some of those changes. So it opened up our recruiting force, our ability to recruit from all over the country. We felt it would help with attrition. And so we did some things such as having no mileage restriction. We would hire in any state based on license requirements. There'd be no returning to the office. And as we were doing that, well, it only made sense that we would offer the current employees the ability to go home as well. And so quite quickly, large portions of our workforce began to move to work at home. That's what they wanted, and we felt that it would be good for us to be able to provide that to them. And one of the things that I really wanted to note as well, because I think a lot of companies have a concern that if they begin moving to home, or work at home, or work remotely, that production will suffer. So we've noticed that even though we've relaxed the requirements, meaning if we're not going to pull you back into the office and you could work anywhere, even though we've done that, we're hitting our highest production statistics since 2008 and maintaining them on a monthly basis. So hopefully we can go over some things, like I say, that will show why we've been able to do that. I'd like to ask those people that are here, prior to the situation with COVID-19, are there anybody out there that had a remote worker program already in place? If you could maybe raise your hands in the group chat, that would be good. Okay, great. Only since COVID. Okay. All right, great. So, nice. All right. Yeah. And so agent workforce, 100% remote. It's actually been basically 100% remote. Like I say, I mean, my workforce has been 100% remote since September of 2000, last September. And even up until that point, I probably had 3 agents in an office since maybe February of March or last year. So for a long time, we've had just about all of our employees at home. Okay, so as I go through it, anyone, like I say, if anyone has some things that they've found successful or want to mention some of that, please feel free to do so. So the problem, so what are we trying to really tackle? Your employees, when they go home, they can possibly feel bored. They could possibly feel ignored, maybe isolated, excluded. All of these type of feelings and things not conducive to productivity and not conducive to a happy employee mentally. And so we want to make sure that those types of things aren't happening. So like I said, there's some things I think that the employee themselves can do to help that. And so let's take a look at some of those actions. These are simple things, I think, but we ask that our employees, we go over these items with our employees to make sure that they're applying them in their life when they do go home. The first thing that we ask is that they do talk to their household members, and I think that that's a good thing, right? So basically orient the members of the household that, listen, I'm at work. I know I'm generally dad when I'm at home, but given my new status, I'm, an employee, I'm working. And so during these times, that's what I need to be doing. I do think on both sides, especially given the situation with COVID-19 and some people actually moving to the remote status, not out of their desire to do so, but out of the necessity to do so. Both the employer and the employee have to realize that, life happens and some interruptions may occur, and don't let it upset you. Maybe you're on video, your kid runs around. There's a clip of a popular video where that happened, and just be tolerant of that. Additionally, especially for me, and I think for a lot of our people, we recommend that they take time in the morning, in the afternoon, part of the day, to take a walk outside. I think that it gets very easy for a person to basically isolate themselves in the household, right? Get off of work, start watching TV, do something like that. Over time, you're definitely going to feel isolated and not be happy. So I think that I take time every morning to make sure that I get outside and do some stuff and do some things with the family. I do understand that given today's environment, there may be some things you can't do. Definitely adhere to that, but as much as possible, I think it's a good thing to be able to get out of the house, or you become, it's the only thing that you're seeing. So, okay, a morning routine. So we have had employees at different points in time. They go home and the first thing that they think of is like, this is a great time saver for me. I got no commute. I got more sleep time. This would be great. So they're going to get up 5 minutes before they have to be on, and then they're going to start working. Well, what do you think happens to their first half hour of work, right? Probably not too productive. Now for us and agents, you can hear it on the sales call, right? So you can hear that this person probably just woke up. They're going to spend a number of sales calls that are wasted in their ability to be able to close them. And so it's very important to maintain some type of a morning routine. I have an example that I used to give as I talked to agents who would fall into this difficulty in the past. It's because of the current situation, it's not quite as applicable, but I will let you know what it is, and certainly you'd have to modify it. But we had an employee go home, and for a little bit they were doing well. Then there was a precipitous drop in their production. And despite coaching, we were unable to revert that. So in talking about what had changed for the employee, they felt that it was difficult for them to deal with moving right into working from getting up. What they felt that they had to do, and what they ended up doing, was they would get dressed as they normally would, in the attire that they normally would work in. They would actually go out, get breakfast outside instead of eating at home, and then come back to their workspace at home as if they were commuting back to the office and work. And unbelievably, that changed their whole production. They were able to begin selling again, were much happier. Just being able to have that routine where they actually left and came back, and it kind of simulated that commute that they were used to, made them feel much more comfortable. So I think that having a morning routine for the employee, or having them set up some type of thing, is very, very important. Structure to your day. So those of you who do work from home now, I think that there's a couple things that happened. Is there anybody out there that notices that you feel like you're more plugged in, so now you're spending more time actually at work? Is there anybody out there that does that? Yeah, Sarah, I see that. Bailey, yeah, Mike, absolutely. Chuck, David, yeah, Megan, myself, right? So I can just log on, I'll handle this quick, Kids like, I thought we were going to do this, and I'm like, I know we were going to do that, but I could just handle this really quick. Yeah, absolutely, Mike. Had to spend time with the family. That's what I'm talking about. So it has become, it is for me, and again, we recommend this to our employees for two reasons, right? So first of all, you can feel more plugged in. So now you're going to be spending more time at work, and then the opposite of that can also happen, right? Without structure, you have employees who aren't getting their workload done, and so on both ends of that spectrum, making sure that you have a structured day. Here's where I'm going to start here, and a lot of these things were important when you were in an office. It just becomes even more important, I think, when you're working remotely. So this is when I'm starting my day. This is what I got to accomplish by this point in time. Here's when I'm taking a break. If your family is going to be involved in that break, they know exactly what time that you're going to be on break and what time that you have to be back on, what time you're going to end for the day. And I think that you have to hold yourself to that structure. And again, both ends of the spectrum on that. Again, so we have held in the past. Now, this is a bit of a change, right? If the COVID-19 thing, people have had to work from home and just kind of make do with what they got. But we have, in the past, we've made it necessary that the person have a location with a door. So, and I think that from the employee's perspective, that's good too, because you're going to keep some of the interruptions at bay if you have a door there. I will say, my kids, sometimes it's like the door doesn't exist and they'll walk in, and that's all right. But it does help to have an office or something like that where you can be performing, hopefully uninterrupted, performing the job. Anyways, those are some things that the employee themselves could do that I think that are simple but really go a long way. Any idea or any questions or any thoughts about any of those things that anyone would like to bring up? I got a Bailey on not taking a break, feeling guilty. Yeah, I understand. Okay, well, good. Then I'll move on. Let's talk a little bit about engagement and again, some simple things to do there. So first of all, video. I mean, most of us are on video right now. I know when employees do move to at home, some of them can be very timid when it comes to being on video. Don't like it, don't like seeing themselves, and it can be odd. We call for it to, as much as possible, be on video. And I think that, how can I put this? So if you go for a while, let's see, I have people that have gone home and they work from home for a couple weeks, and they can attend conference calls and do things and not be on video, and it seems to be fine. Okay, after a couple weeks, try going 3 months, 6 months, and not seeing people that you work with. It gets more and more difficult, and I think that being on video becomes much more important. Let's say you go 3 months, then try and take a month and do all your meetings on video and see if you really want to switch to not doing video again. I guarantee you, you're going to want to be seeing people and see their interactions. Additionally, so your people will feel much more of a connection to you, right? They can see you, you can see them. There is some accountability. So this kind of gets back to that structure and that morning routine thing. You can see some people that probably don't have their good morning routine down when they're getting on video. So you could see that. And participation, right? So you're seeing them, you're seeing if they're participating, paying attention, and all of that. And the last thing I'll just say is, on the programs that we use, sometimes people get a little self-conscious about their background or something. So these programs have a function that totally blurs their background. You can just see them, their face, and it seems to make it easier for them. So just taking a look at the chat, and
There was one from Sarah that was back on the other topic.
sure.
Made suggestions about how to manage work from home and now homeschooling requirements as well. Lots to coordinate.
Man, tough one, because I have a 14-year-old, and I was really hoping that, his school life was totally going to change when he did e-learning, and suddenly I wasn't going to have to push him on his grades and his homework, but that hasn't really happened. So, Sarah, I don't totally understand everything you're maybe asking, right? So do you mean that you have to be in the same workspace together, or for me, I can just tell you that my son has his laptop, and he is in another room, and then I periodically check on him. I actually give him some SMART goals, right? So here's the subject. He lets me know what subject he's on, what he has to do. Okay, so good, let's get this done by this time, this many examples, that type of thing. And then I check in on him. That probably has to do with his work ethic as much as anything, that I have to do that. But I don't know that answers or helps your question. So.
Sarah, I unmuted you if you want to say something.
I think it probably just goes back to your comment about setting a schedule. I think that's just the hardest part. Is my kids are older as well. They're 15, so they're pretty independent. But they still need help on some assignments and some homework. And it's that, kind of going back to the other comments people have made, it's like, how do you balance, or I feel guilty walking away from my computer for an hour to help them, because what if one of my staff reaches out to me and I'm not answering, it looks like I'm not working, but then I also have employees who have younger kids who are requiring a lot more just FaceTime, because that's how younger kids are. And so,
Yeah.
Having the right expectation on my part as their leader to allow them to do what they need to do from a family and schooling dynamic, as well as getting their work done. I think we're all just feeling like there's so many balls in the air. It used to be you'd go to work and come home and help with homework and then move on. And it just feels so intermixed now.
Absolutely. I think that we'll cover something in a minute that might help. And if we could revisit this and you could let me know whether it helps, I'd really, really appreciate it.
Great.
Yeah. All right, cool. Daily huddle. So I'm sure this is something that people do, in the office. I think it becomes even more vitally important when you're working from home. It's touching base with your staff regularly. So it doesn't need to be long, 5 or 10 minutes on video. But it becomes very important that you are touching base, because when you are not, it doesn't take long for people to feel like they're off on their own and they're not connected. So making sure that you have, again, back to that structure, we're going to be getting in touch with each other. This is when the team comes together. That type of thing becomes very important. I think having visual content becomes important when you're in a virtual setting, even if you're just looking at a spreadsheet and talking to a spreadsheet, or a log of huddle topics that you update daily to make sure that you're not forgetting things. But visual content in meetings, very important. I will say something that we're piloting, because we do have varying schedules of our employees, is an open huddle model. So there'll be a block of time, like a half hour, where a manager or a supervisor will be available, will have content up on their screen that they're sharing. And all we ask is that within that block of time, that each of the employees joins the huddle, says hi, gets the download of the information for the day, maybe participates a bit with their peers, and then leaves the huddle. So they don't have to be there for the total time or anything like that. It's just that they're checking in, meeting everybody, getting the information, and then moving on. I hope that makes sense.
Not your 30-minute time. We had a question, how long does your daily huddle last?
Okay, yeah, so it varies. I'm very interactive in my huddles, so with my managers, if I have a certain agenda that I'll be going over, which may vary in time. Sometimes it's maybe 5 minutes, sometimes it's 10, 15 minutes. And then I will also ask what they want to share and go over. And sometimes that's going to be, 5 minutes, or sometimes it's going to be 20, 25 minutes. So I definitely don't usually have it go more than an hour, and even at an hour, would be an extended huddle. Generally, it's somewhere between 10 minutes to a half hour. So then I think, what program do I use? Mike, I'm going to be getting to that in just a minute, and I'm hoping that helps address Sarah's difficulty. It has helped address that difficulty with me. Okay. So one thing that has been transformative in our business is moving to Microsoft Teams. So is anyone else familiar with Microsoft Teams out there? Use Teams and love it. Teams is great, absolutely. Kimberly, Trevor, I recommend it. Megan, perfect. Yes, absolutely. It's been transformative. So before this, we would rely heavily on WebEx and Skype. But when our company moved to Microsoft Teams, you could definitely see the engagement move tenfold. So I have a little bit for anybody who might not be familiar with it. I have basically a screenshot of it, of my Teams. And so there are a number of things. I won't go into every function that it does, but certainly it does what we're doing now, video conferences, calling, that type of thing. Also, this is something that's going to be up. All of our employees will have this up anytime that they're working, and you can set different groups. So we're going to have different groups that are going to be from the whole company down to all of my sales teams, and then down to each team itself. I've taken a moment here just to, when I did the screenshot, I'm basically highlighting one of my teams. This team here, it's called the SST team. It stands for Sales Service Team. And you can see that people were just logging on in the morning, and they're all saying hi to each other. It's definitely very interactive. Many emojis that you can put in, GIFs that you can put in. So it definitely helps people feel like they're connected to each other. Additionally, you can see here, you can actually tell statuses. So when you have employees that are across the country, it can be very important for them to know, are other people working? Are they on today? Are they on right now? Are they away? Are they busy? Are they presenting? Are they in the middle of a meeting? Are they available? So you can instantly know anybody in the company what status they're on. And so, Sarah, speaking to the situation and with the kids. So I think the structure and the schedule is very important, but also a high level of communication with anybody that you're working with in a program like this. For example, this team here, they'll let them know, I'm going to lunch, I'll be back in an hour, break time, not only are they letting each other know their statuses and that they're heading out, but they will use it socially, right? How was lunch? What did you have? Things like that. Again, I think any of that type of banter is going to help bring about a good environment for the employees, since they're not seeing each other actually. The screen sharing so that they can help each other there is folders you can put in Teams so that you can load documents into them. The documents are shared between the whole group. If I have a project and I'm working on one part of a document, you can have a person in your team working on the other part of the document at the same time and saving it. There's a lot to it, and like I say, it's been very transformational for us. So there.
Shawn, we had a question if Teams has a cost to it.
I believe so, but I'm not, yeah, I don't know what that is.
Okay. And also, is the platform in the cloud?
Ours is, yes. Yeah, it is. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and like Trevor said, creating these teams and channels really helps. Absolutely. Becomes more and more essential. Just reading, Eric, yeah, your thing here. Absolutely agree with all of that. Absolutely, Eric. So let's see, hold on one second. So as far as this Teams goes, so these channels are manned by managers, so employees can get manager assistance from across the country whenever they need to. If they have a question, they'll get those questions answered. Other employees will chime in. Social engagement. I mean, I don't know if this is the best example. I mean, I guess I do feel that it's a good example, but recently we had somebody who was a large part of our company, and an executive actually passed away. And on the channel that for the whole company, people could basically put stories, put thoughts, things like that. I think it really allowed the company as a whole to be able to participate and kind of work through that situation. So I think that social engagement through Teams is very important. Let's see, competition. So we are a sales environment, so you'll get a lot of trash talking, get back and forth between the salespeople, which helps the competition. Games. So I mentioned to you that documents and things can be shared, so we've actually developed some games. This is just a simple grid thing. We could number these grids in a simple game. When people got sales, they would get to choose a number, and they can choose that themselves while somebody else is choosing another square, and perhaps have a prize associated with each square. So people can be playing something doing something interactive at the same time. And again, your coworker's status, right? Are they available? Are they not? And be able to communicate out, hey, I got to go help my son right now. I got to go do this. I'll be back in 15, 20 minutes. And people know that. And I think in today's environment, they're very accepting of us having to do some other chores and things. So. Additionally, through Teams, we have employee resource groups. So you can see some of them here, whether it's for car enthusiasts, basketball, books, sports, whatever it is, so that people can participate. Again, throughout the country, they can participate in these groups with each other and feel connected. So, again, I cannot overstate how big Teams has been for our company. Any questions? Anything else I could? Thanks for the help on that, Eric. Appreciate it.
Shawn, there was one back that Sarah asked. It said similar to Slack. Do you know which?
I don't know. I'm not familiar, Sarah, with Slack. People honest when they're stepping away. So, I hope so. They may not be. after a certain time, your screen is going to lock and your status is going to change whether you don't have to set it or change it. And it's tied into Outlook as well. So if I move into an appointment, it's going to show me busy. So you could probably fool it for a short time, but eventually your status will automatically change. And if you log out, it shows that. So it seems like Trevor has some experience with Slack. He says that it's more purely a chat function. Teams is a little bit more, has more functionality than Slack. Okay. Great. Great. Okay. So move on to culture. So first of all, as far as our company goes, just talking about kind of before the current situation, we began to hire specifically for remote. So we are looking for people who have had remote experience, or people who are very self-motivated, perhaps certain projects that they've done on their own, brought to completion, that type of thing. So in the hiring process, we're looking for somebody who's already set up and will be comfortable working from home, working alone, and be able to achieve goals, without having the office environment around them. I think it's important too when you're onboarding employees, or in this case I put agents, but that when you're getting them used to their environment and how they're going to be working right from the beginning. So we have something that we call Launchpad, a name we've borrowed from other places, and it's an environment where they're learning. We do virtual training, so all of our training, sometimes it's even licensing training, depending on what position the person may be going into, but it's all virtually done through our training department. We have particular assessments that are done, and a lot of that too is to really gear the employee to, this is how your life is going to be. This is, to be truthful, if it's something that they don't like, and if it's something that they aren't going to be able to handle, then it's something that they make the decision to move away from near the beginning of their career with us, rather than down the road. We set people up with veteran employees and mentors so that they have a partner to help them. Usually that relationship will actually continue throughout their tenure with us as a company, and we find that helps quite a bit. Let's see, hold on. So recognition, I wanted to talk about just a little bit, because when you're recognizing people, that needs to move to virtual as well. So in the past, it was very easy for us to give somebody a plaque or something of that nature, but if we do that now, there's no way for them to demonstrate to others that they made this certain achievement, right? Because it's going to sit at home on a desk and nobody really is going to see it. We have in our, like many companies, we have a level of production for our agents, which is called President's Club. There are 3 levels: bronze, silver, and gold. There is a financial benefit to that, although people like to also have the a recognition, a visual representation of the status, especially salespeople like to show that they're good and show others that they are accomplished. So these things need to move virtually. So what we have done, and just kind of perhaps going back to, if you're not familiar with Teams, hold on, I'm going to go back a little bit here. So as people interact on Teams, oops, you'll see that they have photos here. And so one of the things that we've done is we put a banner on the photo when they reach that President's Club, and it's going to be bronze, silver, or gold. So as they interact with people throughout the company, everybody they interact with is going to know, hey, this person is a President's Club member. This person is a gold President's Club member. And that is something that the people end up really liking and enjoying. They like to show off their status. Email signature, so we change that. And then we give them accolade and things to put on LinkedIn. So, you know, it's a social world. And so being able to have them outwardly be able to show their accomplishments to other in social media can be a big thing. So we provide that for them when they reach certain levels of production. And then additionally, I put this on here, I know during this situation, you know, it may not be the best thing mailing stuff out to people, but I can tell you with remote employees, before the COVID-19 situation, people love receiving things. They love receiving little gifts, getting something in the mail from the company, you know, showing a card. Geez, we've mailed cups, trinkets. There's companies that send cookies. You know, once in a while to get some physical representation of the connection you have with your workplace goes a long way. It's not something that we are currently doing due to the situation. I do hope that it gets to a point where we can do that again because people love it. So just want to throw it out there for any remote staff. If you get to the point where we can feel comfortable mailing stuff to them or they feel comfortable getting it out of their mailbox, it doesn't take much. Mail some simple stuff and they will love it. Okay. Any questions, thoughts, anything there? Anyone want to comment on? Belinda, I see that you work with Primerica. We love our relationship with Primerica. Anyways, that's one of our partners, so. Great, right. Excellent, Chuck. So, yeah, people love getting stuff in the mail, for sure. Okay. Social events. So about once a quarter, and this is especially with newer people through their first year or two with us as a company, we hold virtual social events. And the idea really is that it's not production. We're not going over numbers, talking about the company. It really is geared towards getting some people together who generally don't know each other, aren't necessarily connected, having them interact and bringing them into the culture of what is Answer Financial and feeling like they're part of the company. Here's some of the things that we do just as ideas. I mean, we'll basically showcase where everybody lives across the country. We may kind of icebreaker, just ask people, okay, so if we were going to visit, you know, whatever town, you know, Lincoln, Nebraska, what do you think that we should, you know, absolutely see? And why is that? And we'll go around to everybody in the meeting. Go over facts, interests, hobbies of people in the meeting. One thing that we do as well, and this we usually do use WebEx for, because in WebEx you can have a group meeting and then you can break the group meeting up into other rooms. And so probably everybody has played one of these survival games where, you know, plane crashed, you have X number of items, you have to get to this location, which items do you take and what's their importance, put them in the list. So we will then separate people into the rooms and have them work through that. Again, we're just trying to get people to interact and talk with each other and meet each other, know each other a little bit. They're not going to have an office environment to be able to do that. So this is kind of duplicating that, but virtually. So, and there might be other additional activities, bingo. I don't know that the activities necessarily are important, but taking an hour once a quarter for people to get together, have some fun, time off the job, meet each other, feel like they're part of the company. You know, again, it connects everybody together to be part of your business. So we use that to build our culture.
Shawn, there's a question from Bailey. Do employees engage well in these social events?
They do. Bailey, we do try and, we try and bring that about, right? So we're going to assign people in that game to have different functions. You know, you're going to be the captain of the team, that type of thing. So we do try and put them in positions where they have to engage and interact. So, you know, mostly we find that they engage well. We're going to call on them. Okay, so we know you're from Portland, Oregon. Tell us a little bit about what's important in Portland. What would you say we had to see? So we're definitely calling them out and making sure that they're interacting. Anything else there? All right. Well, that really is what I put together as far as some of the actions that we take. There are some other things that we also use. However, are there any questions about anything that we've gone over so far, or anything I could add color to? I guess we only got 8 minutes anyway, so. Excellent, Mike. I hope it helped you. Hope it helped. All right, good. And if there's any other additional help that I could be, I definitely enjoy sharing best practices. I love hearing from anybody, ideas, things that they have. It is being recorded, that so far as I know, you know, please, you know, but anyways, it's just saying I would respond to anybody. Chuck has my email address. You're welcome to put that out there.
Thank you. Hey, Shawn, wonderful. Great presentation, wonderful information. I certainly learned a lot that we can apply in our organization. And if we can get this information out to more chamber members, I think it'll be wonderful. We will post this. It is being recorded. So we'll have this available on our webinar site for others to download and see. So it's been a great presentation. Any other feedback or comments? Last call for anything that you'd like. All right, guys, have a wonderful chamber day, and
thank you, everybody.
Stay safe and healthy. Take care.
All right, bye.